Well, we can, in fact, now talk to the government because I'm joined by Stephen Morgan, the Minister for Early Education. Very good morning to you. Thanks very much indeed for talking to us this morning. And first of all, I know that today you're encouraging parents in England to sign up for their funded childcare because that scheme is being expanded. So to first of all, briefly tell us who's eligible and what they're eligible for.
Well, first of all, I just want to recognise that it's been a really tough time for family finances across our country, and we want to break that unfair link between how well paid a family is and a child's background, and make sure that every child in every part of our country can succeed and thrive and get the best start in life. That's why today we're announcing £600 million going into our holiday activity and food programme to give children access to hot meals during the school holidays, and also parents more choices around childcare. Fantastic investment going into communities up and down the country. But also more broadly, we're investing in children's futures through our childcare entitlement offer. And 3 days left to make sure that parents apply. I want to make sure that parents are accessing this really important support, a lifeline support for parents across the country, so that every child gets the best start in life through good quality early education.
And I know that you've increased the hourly rate that you pay childcare providers who are offering these free hours, but in many cases that even increased rate doesn't cover the full cost of the childcare, and some of those providers are being forced to charge for extras like meals or trips or nappies or other extras, and that's pricing a lot of parents out, isn't it?
Well, the Prime Minister has made early education his key priority, and I know that it's the top priority for the Education Secretary, Bridget Phillipson. We're putting £9 billion into the system later this year. I want to make sure we're improving access and accessibility to early education. On charging, we want to make sure that it's a good scheme across the country and works for parents. We want to make sure there's transparency in the system, so providers are expected to publish information around what parents have to pay, but 30 hours of funded childcare will be available from next week. We're delivering on this after a previous government made a pledge without a plan, and it's really important that this is a success, and I've been tracking it really closely over the past year to make sure it's a scheme that's going to make a real difference and we deliver our promise to parents.
But what about this issue of some parents not being able to afford those extras that nurseries are charging for, so they're not able to access those free childcare hours? What's your answer to that?
So we've been looking closely at the eligibility for the childcare entitlement scheme. We want to make sure it works for every parent. There's always challenges in big programmes like this, and we published a strategy earlier this year which will make sure that we are reviewing the scheme to make sure it makes a big difference. But as I said, parents have got 3 days to apply for the scheme that starts next week. It's a fantastic programme that hundreds of thousands of parents are already benefiting from. On charging, providers just have to set out what is mandatory, and information will be available to parents on their website.
OK, let me ask another question then. Are there enough staff to cope with this expansion?
So we've been growing the workforce. It's been a real challenge over the past year, and I pay tribute to early years providers across the country that have worked hand in hand with the local authorities and the government to make this work. Been tracking progress really closely, but we've grown the workforce, and also we've grown the number of places. We're investing in school-based nurseries to make sure there's more places across the country in disadvantaged communities. It's a really exciting programme, a big investment by government that I think is going to make a real difference to children up and down the country.
OK, you say you're growing the workforce, but are they evenly spread across the country? I mean, I know that Ofsted warns of certain childcare deserts, and they say that they tend to happen where lower household incomes exist and higher levels of deprivation. Do you acknowledge that there are areas that are struggling to create the places?
I do acknowledge there's areas across the country that will struggle with places, and we've been working really closely with providers and with local authorities to make sure we do deliver on our promise to parents. It's looking really positive, but I'm keeping a really close eye on those issues. We're investing, as I said, in school-based nurseries where we need those extra places to fulfil that commitment to parents. Parents should be able to get one of their top 3 choices, and this will save parents on average £7,500 a year. So a really important government scheme that's going to make a real difference to communities across our country.
OK, let me just move you on to another issue, if I can. And yesterday we were reporting here on this show that the news broke about the fertility rate in England and Wales, which has fallen to its lowest levels on record. I just wonder what your thoughts were on this. Why do you think that it's dropping?
Well, I talk to parents all the time and they tell me that to have a child can be really expensive, and that's why we are investing in our childcare offer to help reduce some of those costs to parents. It's obviously a choice for families if they want to raise a child, but absolutely we're investing in government schemes like our childcare entitlement to support parents if they want to choose to have a child.
Should you drop the two-child benefit cap?
Well, our down payment on the child poverty strategy was to invest in more children accessing free school meals. I'm really excited to be working with Bridget Phillipson to deliver that. It will lift 100,000 children out of poverty, and 500,000 more children will be able to access free school meals from September this year. You'll have to wait, I'm afraid, to child poverty strategy, which will be out in the autumn, but the Prime Minister's been clear. The level to child poverty that we see in Britain is a stain on our society, and we need to use all levers available to us to bring down those numbers and make sure that every child in every part of the country gets a good start in life.
I noticed that you avoided the question of the two-child benefit cap, but I'm curious to know whether you're concerned about the fertility rate. I mean, there are a lot of people that say, you know, if we don't have enough babies being born in future, there won't be enough taxpayers to pay for an ageing generation. Is it something that concerns you?
Well, we need to look at all of these interventions in the round, and as you say, we will look at these matters in the child poverty strategy, which we'll report in the autumn. We need to look at all levers, including housing, what we're doing in education in terms of investing in free school meals, the investment in free breakfast clubs in every primary school in the country, our £9 billion being spent on early education in the childcare entitlement offer, and that's why I'm really encouraging parents today to just check their eligibility for that childcare entitlement. They've got 3 days to do so. They can find out more information on the Childcare Choices website.
And I just want to pick up on a story that we were just chatting with our political correspondent, with Mari, with just a moment ago, and reports in the Times today saying that the Chancellor is considering a tax increase on landlords, applying national insurance to rental income. And I know you won't be able to tell me whether or not that will appear in the budget, but I wonder whether you'd be opposed to that idea in principle.
Obviously, fiscal policy and taxation is a matter for the Chancellor of the Exchequer. You'll have to wait until the budget this autumn.
I'm very happy to wait, but I am curious to know your opinion.
Well, we're focused on growing the economy, fixing the foundations of the country, restoring public services, and that decade of national renewal. I'm afraid you will have to wait till the budget later this year, but that's our relentless focus, is growing the economy and investing in children's futures through the announcements that I'm making today.
OK, well, Stephen Morgan, we appreciate your time this morning. Thanks very much indeed for joining us. Thank you.